Mexico and Canada. Of course, we've heard for days that Trump was planning and in fact said this is happening. There's going to be tariffs on Mexico and Canada. We've been taken advantage of for way too long. And we knew that Mexico and Canada both were like, oh yeah, well, we're going to counter tariff you. So take that, America. And that did not last long. Here was the first report that came out. This was pretty early in the morning, I think right after our show yesterday.
It was.
Yeah, there was the news report about Mexico deciding to play ball. Here's that report.
Fox's alert, and the breaking news of the day is on tariffs. And we just have word that the Mexican president spoke to Donald Trump, and they are going to pause the tariffs on Mexico for 1 month. And Jackie Heinrich is standing by at the White House with more on this development. Hi, Jackie.
Good morning, Dana. Yeah, that was pretty short-lived. The president spoke with Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum, the two sides agreeing to pump the brakes on the tariffs and then retaliatory tariffs that Mexico promised for a period of a month while they work out the terms of an agreement. The Mexican president just posted some of the details. Mexico is going to immediately send 10,000 members of the National Guard to prevent drug trafficking from Mexico to the United States, particularly fentanyl. Also, she says the U.S. is going to work with Mexico to prevent the trafficking of high-powered weapons to Mexico, something that Mexico hit back at when President Trump was threatening these tariffs. Was they were calling on the U.S. to curb the flow of guns from the U.S. down to the cartels.
So here is the tweet from Donald Trump about Mexico. He was talking about how he just basically got off the phone with the Mexican president. It was very friendly. She immediately said, we're surging these 10,000 soldiers to the border. They're going to be specifically looking to stop the flow of fentanyl. We're going to, work to help stop arms from going over to Mexico. And then they are pausing the tariffs for a 1 month period as they continue to negotiate. Those negotiations are going to be handled by Rubio and by Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick and some high-level representatives from Mexico. So it's not over, but the conversation is happening, which is exactly the point of this entire thing, right?
Art of the deal. Is what
art of the deal.
Yeah.
Yes.
And to my point before, it's like it wasn't bullying. It's he understands risk. He understands, okay, I'm gonna push these people and they're gonna give me what I want. And they did. She is. I mean, it may not be everything yet, but it's a start. It's a better start than what we had before. For crying out loud. And this is the thing. People get so uncomfortable with this. Liberals get very uncomfortable. They're just like, but this is mean. And I'm uncomfortable. and then you have the Chuck Schumers of the world who are out there going, we're not going to have beer and avocados. How did that age, Chuck? That didn't age you very well, did it? Because we got pretty much, we're on our way to getting what we want because he is willing to take the risk for Americans. He's willing to put his neck out there and his giant platinum balls. And
which Biden obviously was lacking and was constantly just laying down for every other country.
This is the thing.
So no more.
This is the thing. More. Daddy is home.
Well, and from the Oval Office, he was also asked before everything happened with Canada and they were still in the midst of the conflict, right? When he was standing firm on Canada's tariffs and he was not monkeying around, he still continued to talk. This was as of yesterday, early afternoon. He still continued to talk about wanting Canada to be the 51st.
Look, what I'd like to see Canada become our 51st state. We give them protection, military protection. We don't need them to build our cars. I'd rather see Detroit or South Carolina or any one of our Tennessee, any one of our states build the cars. They could do it very easily. We don't need them for the cars. We don't need them for lumber. We don't need them for anything. We don't need them for energy. We have more energy than they do. We don't need them for energy. So I say, why are we doing this? Why are we willing to lose between $100 billion and $200 billion a year? We don't need them. As a state, it's different.
He's so right. He's so right about the energy too. The oil, drill here.
just a reminder about our friends at allfamilypharmacy.com/chicks. If you are looking for medical independence, that is what this pharmacy gives you. If you don't want to mess with calling your doctor for your prescription for ivermectin, or if you need an antibiotic and you don't want to mess with going to an ER and urgent care and sitting around a lot of other flu-ridden, COVID-infested, God knows what they're carrying people, just order what you need from the safety and serenity of your own home. And you can do it by visiting allfamilypharmacy.com/chicks. When you use code CHICKS10, you will get 10% off of your entire order. You don't have to have insurance. You can often get your medications. They're usually shipped out within 2 to 4 days, or you can get them overnight if you need them. And it's all delivered right to your door. Visit allfamilypharmacy.com/chicks. And again, the code is CHICKS10 for your discount.
I've never understood that. I don't know why we are like using other people when, my God, drill in Texas. Like, what are we doing? And we're so indebted to all these other countries. We don't have to be. We don't have to use them. He is 100% correct.
Yep. And he talked about other countries, Canada, Mexico, everybody, he was throwing them all into one category, that everybody wants to negotiate now. And it's because of what he's been doing. And so he talked about the impact that's made and how they all want to play ball now.
One of those countries is dying to make a deal. You know why? Because they're ripping us off really badly. And the United States is tired of just being ripped off. And that's why we have $36 trillion in debt. We have it for a reason, because we make bad deals with everybody.
Yep.
And we don't allow that anymore. So the Wall Street Journal is wrong, because
Did the sound cut out?
right now is dying to make a deal. Because the deals they have right now are so good, and so good for them, and so profitable for them. You didn't know that Canada didn't allow our banks. You didn't know all of these different things. And I think in the end, you're going to see that either very, very substantial tariffs are going to be paid by them, or they're going to make some kind of a deal.
So at first, when the fight was still heating up and all the Canadians were like, I'm canceling my Florida vacation or whatever. Doug Ford said, starting today and until the U.S. tariffs are removed, Ontario is banning American companies from provincial contracts. So he was playing hardball. And then I think we mentioned yesterday, or maybe not, I can't remember what timeline this was, but Ontario canceled a $100 million Starlink deal. And I loved Elon's response to it. He was like, oh well.
That's the greatest.
Absolutely cracked me up.
Nobody cares, Mario. Yeah.
And then Justin Trudeau had his conversation with Donald Trump and everything changed. And so you're about to see the tweet from Justin saying he had a really good call. And here's what we're doing. We're now implementing this $1.3 billion border plan that they have had kind of in the back pocket, but not actually implemented. So now they are implementing it. They're doing exactly what Trump wanted. Nearly 10,000 frontline personnel are and will be working on protecting the border. They're also making new commitments to appoint a fentanyl czar. They're going to list cartels as terrorists, just as the United States did. So again, same as Mexico, the proposed tariffs are on pause for at least 30 days while they continue to negotiate. And of course, Trump put out a very lengthy tweet about this as well, saying similar stuff, but at the end saying, as president, it's my responsibility to ensure the safety of all Americans, and I am doing just that. Very pleased with this initial outcome, and the tariffs announced Saturday will be paused for 30 days to see whether or not a final economic deal with Canada can be structured. So there's doubt still about how much they're going to cooperate, but at least they're working.
He's like, let's see how far I can bend Trudeau over. You know what I mean?
That's right.
And Trudeau is hating it.
Oh my God, he hates it.
Just hating that. And I'm loving every minute of this, every single, I'm just like, this is the greatest thing ever. Because he's like, oh no, I'm going to fight. I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to fight because it's Trump. And this is the thing. They can't. Mexico and Canada caved. Like within hours, they caved.
It
And
didn't
that just
last
shows
long.
you. That shows you who's in charge.
Yep. And then Scott Jennings was on a panel with like that horrible Catherine Rampel chick. And she was trying to argue that this means Trump lost, that his bark had no bite, that Canada has already been protecting the border. So nothing new has been achieved. I mean, she is psychotic, that woman. But as always, Scott Jennings has the last word. Here he is. I love him.
I know.
Well, I think that question was posed on 60 Minutes last night. Let's fast forward to what's happening right now. There are no tariffs. There's a pause on this because, as has been reported by CNN and every other news outlet, both Mexico and Canada have reached agreements today with Donald Trump to do what we want them to do, which is to put people and technology and resources at the border to stop the flow of people and drugs, illegal immigration, stem the tide. That is the whole point of this exercise. And that is apparently what is happening. And yes, there have been some troops there in Mexico. This is an agreement to do permanent deployment. And yes, some of this stuff in Canada was already announced, but now they were dragging their feet. Now their feet are held to the fire. They've got 30 days to really implement, and they can't pussyfoot around anymore. So the point of this exercise today, to me, had less to do with trade and more to do with saying to our neighbors, you need to be better neighbors. We are more important to your economy than you are to ours. So you need to help us with our serious problem, which is illegal immigration and people dying from fentanyl. And they both said yes today, and that is a win for Donald Trump.
Damn straight.
Yep. And her face.
Oh my God, her face.
She's obviously never lost anybody from fentanyl.
Yeah. There were actually Democrats who were saying, yeah, but we've only captured like 43 pounds of fentanyl from the northern border, not recognizing that that's enough to kill 10 million people.
Oh my God.
There's just only 43 pounds. Why are we making a big deal about it? Oh my God.
What's the big deal? Just these people are so out of touch.